Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're back for another live stream with Betty Albee. We're continuing on the book "Mind is the Athlete," and we'll be working on. We're going through our third review progression of Chapter 6, "Identity: The Reflection of Consciousness," pages 132 to 134.
Today.
The book "Mind is the Athlete" is available up on the IMS website at scientificmetaphysics.org, and you can purchase it there. You can purchase the Kindle version out on Amazon and follow along from there. So without any further ado, go for it, Betty.
Hi. So this morning we're going to talk about experience a little bit.
It's the evening already.
Oh. I'm in California, so I'm not sure about that. Everybody has a unique experience of living. A lot of things happen all around us, but that doesn't mean we experience them. And each one of us, our whole living hinges around what we actually allow ourselves to experience. So experience is something we want to take a look at. And I said language in and of itself. That means the way things look around you, all the appearance stuff, the stuff we look at. It has no meaning of itself. Its occurrence is a concept of what is. So scientific metaphysics presents the idea that reality is present, fully present all the time. But you and I look at it and see what we are able to see, which is a concept of what we believe is present. So there's a whole nother level of living when you discover that reality may not be what you're actually believing is there. And we have a discussion on what reality is all about. And we have a discussion of what the human being is all about. And right now we're talking about the identity of the individual. We look at the image in the mirror, and that's one form of identity, and that would be a concept of who you are. And the concept is based on what you see around you, what you see when you look in the mirror, what you observe as your avenue through the experiences of everyday living. That's your concept of yourself. Living and acknowledgement of spiritual facts is a powerful directive capable of regenerating and inspiring individual experience. And ultimately, your language world, that is the appearance of stuff all around you, including all mankind. And it includes the planet, and it includes beyond, stuff we haven't even had knowledge of seeing at this point, but we feel sure that it's out there. So all that is part of your language world. When you experience something, it means that you have allowed yourself to take it in, to have it be part of who you are. You've owned it, in other words, and it shapes your behavior to a certain extent. The stuff we actually let in, the stuff we actually are willing to have a connection with, if I can put it that way, makes a difference in how we live. And so actually, when you think about it a bit, your language world is something you have constructed out of what you're willing to experience. So how you see your circumstances in your life I lost my point here. I lost my place on the page. How you see your circumstances in life is a point of view of the reality, the mind action that's present when you show up. Now, let me read it again. How you see your circumstances and your life is a point of view. It's your concept of the mind action, the reality that's present when you show up. And it's always present. Without reality present, there is no concept. So it's always reality present. What you see is what you allow yourself to see. And that's not necessarily a conscious experience or a decision or anything like that. It's your willingness to include everything seen, heard, and felt as who you are. And most of us don't. We live it as not I. We live it as something out there, and we may consider it at some point, may let some of it in, but it isn't an automatic. So I want to move on a little bit here. We've established before that our human experience of living is unique and individual to each one of us. And our need is to pay attention to what we're living and who we're being, and recognize the beliefs we have about all that, because they are the fiction, they are the concept that designs and shapes our experience. The reality is present. And the more we can allow the reality to really, what's the word I want for that? But the more we can allow reality itself and what we learn about reality to be an acknowledged presence, the freer we are as human beings. Now, that's a lot of stuff to say, but the fact of the matter is that most of the time we live in terms of what we observe. We have a very strict rule about what is mine and what is not mine, what is I and what is not I. And we fail to live ourselves whole and complete and free.
Yep.
So it's important to consider that what you see in the mirror and what you observe around you every day is the way it looks. It's not the way it is.
We have a comment or a question, actually, a request from Elizabeth Mock. Can you give a real life example of an experience you have had?
Yes, I can. I have an experience of living in a house, in a condo, actually, that's like a duplex. So it's like a little house. And it feels very much comfortable, homey, secure, safe, friendly, attractive. I have all of that, and I enjoy it. I actively enjoy being here because I have included it as my world, my house, my home, like that.
Okay. And how does that, and then relate that just a little bit further to what it is you've been saying?
Okay. So what I recognize is that being is whole. The God idea, being, is whole and complete and satisfied and fulfilled and comfortable and intact. And that is the experience that I have living in my home.
Okay. Now, what if you were out walking and you stubbed your toe and you fell?
That would be like an attention getter, wouldn't it?
Uh-huh.
Something that's uncomfortable, and you say, "Oh, for heaven's sakes!"
Right.
And right away, what I do is pay attention. And interestingly enough, that has happened to me too, from a couple of times. But I think, well, okay, so what is that telling me right now when that occurs? At that very moment, who was I being? And who I was being was two-legged Betty out for a walk and not paying attention, just walking. And so I stubbed my toe. And sometimes I can do that and nothing occurs. But when I stub my toe and throw myself off balance or any of that, then I know that it's time to pay attention to what's actually present that has Betty doing what she's doing. And what that is a reminder that this may be the way it looks, but what's present is being itself, whole, complete, fulfilled, intact, joyous, free, and on and on. That's what's actually present. Mm-hmm. And this is the way it looks. So I don't have a requirement of the way it looks, except to allow it to be.
Okay.
I don't make myself bad and wrong because I stubbed my toe. I don't have that mean, oh dear, now I'll be uncomfortable. Probably broke my toe, and none of that. I just leave it alone. It's a wake-up call. It's saying, pay attention. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Does that help with that question, or was there something else you wanted to hear?
Nope, that's good. Let's keep going. And anyone who wants to enter a comment in or ask a question, just do that both on YouTube and on Facebook. We're streaming to both. You can enter a comment or a question in, and we will see it. So we'll be able to address it.
Okay.
Yep.
So whatever consciousness, nothing exists outside of consciousness manifest. Being itself being. So whatever it is or seems to be has its existence, has its presence as the reflection or expression of one indescribably magnificent presencing, the God idea, front and center, constituting all there is to me and all there is to the world I walk through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the totality of mind or consciousness encompasses all that exists and all that seems to exist as its self-expression.
Mm-hmm. We have another comment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Elizabeth said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, dear. As I go, so goes my world. See, it isn't ever true that you are an unwitting victim in the situation you find yourself. You are there because you went there. You consented to be there. You wouldn't be there otherwise. The way you live is entirely up to you. Entirely.
Mm-hmm.
You may not accept that, but it's actually a fact that the reality generating the look of you is whole, perfect, intact, complete, free, joyous, all of that, all the time. How you live that is really up to you and what you are willing to include as who you are. If I'm living that old adage from Missouri, what I see is what I've got, then you're living in the world you walk through, the language world, and you have very limited options. When you can begin to identify yourself as the expression of God being, that's a whole different experience of living. Mm-hmm. And it occurs only when you're willing to have it occur.
Well, when you're willing to be present to it or acknowledge, right?
Yeah, and you can't be, it isn't like I'm unwilling consciously, but you do have to consciously be willing. Otherwise, you just take what you see as what you see is what you get, and that's it. And a lot of us live that way. But we always have a moment when there's a wake-up call. Something occurs that isn't fun, isn't pleasant, interrupts our usual routine. And in those moments, we have a choice, apparently. And the choice is really not ours, but it looks like that. So you have a choice of how you want to live that experience. A lot of people blame it on circumstances or people outside of themselves. And there is nothing outside of yourself, nothing at all. So you're unwilling to include the allness, the fullness, the completeness, the wholeness of God being. That's who you are. And when you do that, you take what goes with being what you look at in the mirror with all of its ups and downs. And that goes along until something else interrupts. And bit by bit by bit, we all come around to seeing that what we're looking at in the mirror is the whole story. Any other questions?
No, not so far.
Okay. We label, consciousness is not something possessed by individuals, but consciousness constructs. And consciousness constitutes every individual expression. So it is our alert consciousness that is the determining factor in who we're being, how we're being, when we're being, and where we're being, all of it. Nothing exists outside of consciousness, nothing at all.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's one more or two more things that I wanted to include in this. Are we running out of time or anything?
Well, we've got plenty right now, so go for it.
All right. The universe of consciousness is the one I, the one ego, and that one lives, moves, and has being as mind consciousness. So the view labeled man is not a separate thinker. See, man is not I or ego. Man is reflection of God being. Thinking is mind action, God being in action. And that shows up, manifest, and we call it man. A view is a reflective appearance only. A shifting language has no substance of its own.
Yeah.
Okay. We literally design our experiential world. And we do that with every word we utter and every act we take.
Every idea we embrace.
That's right. So we want to pay attention. And that's why quite often in working with metaphysical science and talking with people when they call, I say, who are you being right now? The determining factor in the joy of your life, in the health of your life, in the abundance you experience or the lack thereof is entirely up to who you are being. And it's always within your control. As much as we don't want to own that, it's actually true.
Yep.
We design the world we walk through. And sometimes we walk through it complaining the whole way.
Yes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very good.
Next week, we will finish the identity chapter.
Excellent. One of the things that I wanted to let y'all know is that there's going to be a live cast with Betty Albee June 13th and 14th from 9 to 1 each day Pacific time. You can go out to scientificmetaphysics.org/livecast to check it out and sign up. Right now there's a sale on that will be there for another week, and then the price will go up. So right now it's you can go check it out and see. And if it calls to you, then go ahead and register and put yourself in that live cast. That's where you really get to do a deep dive. Otherwise, feel free to go out and check out our scientificmetaphysics.org website. We have open mic calls. We have teleconference seminars that we do on Zoom. This live cast will be via Zoom. So I invite you to check that out and to participate. We're a nonprofit organization. And so we appreciate all the public support that we get. So anything else you want to say, Mom?
No, I look forward to next week, and I hope I'll see some of you in the live cast.
All right, very good. Until then, we'll see you next week.